And the Knicks, they needed a 5, and a lot of that is because Mitchell Robinson, Steven, I don't want to break your heart so early, but I'm told he will be out the remainder of this calendar year, 2024. He will
knew you'd bring me bad news, Chuck.
He will aim for his season debut.
How long you been here? 3 minutes and you're bringing me bad news already?
It might be bad news on the front end, but he is aiming to make his return. And he had 2 ankle surgeries last season. It is imperative for the Knicks, for Mitchell Robinson, for him to come back in peak form and really take his time from these injuries. And they're hopeful he's going to be back. And Tom Thibodeau loves Mitchell Robinson defensively, Steven. Okay. Having him at the 5, seeing him in a lineup with him at the 5, Karl-Anthony Towns at the 4, that is something you should be happy about.
So unsurprisingly, Mitchell Robinson will not be available until at least January, which means that the Knicks are going to be without him for the end of October, the entire month of November and December. So what, 2 months and essentially a week. I mean, that is a lot of basketball for a Knicks team that is trying to compete for the #1 seed in the East, which would grant them home court over the Boston Celtics or the Philadelphia 76ers and Milwaukee Bucks. There's a couple of teams that are going to give the Knicks trouble, especially without Mitch, who is our best defender. He's our best rebounder. He's going to play the 5. Cat's going to play the 4 when healthy. It seems like that is what the Knicks are planning to do. But guys are going to have a chance to step up. Whenever somebody gets hurt, as sad as it is, we're going to get to see a lot of Jericho Sims, and Ariel Horporty is going to get an opportunity. Precious Achiuwa, Moses Brown, who the Knicks signed to an Exhibit 10 contract yesterday. He's 7'2", 258 pounds. He's now going to get a legit opportunity. So hopefully they can make the most of it, because last night the Knicks bigs actually played very well. I mean, Karl-Anthony Towns put together a double-double, finished with 25, 27 and 10, 7 of 20 from the field. Not the best efficiency, but Cat and OG too, who was 2 of 9 from the field. These guys show that, hey, look, my shot isn't falling, but I can still contribute. I can still rebound. I can still defend. I can still get in the passing lane. This was a great defensive performance by the Knicks. They forced 30 turnovers. I mean, we had 16 steals. It was just crazy. Great job by the Knicks, despite the efficiency not being there, to go out there and figure out a way to win a game by a lot of points. I actually like what we have outside of Cat at the big position. I like the potential. Right now, the floor is the question, but I think Jericho Sims can do big things for us. We saw he had double-digit rebounds in that first preseason game against the Hornets. Of course, we saw Ariel Horporty have a very good game last night. I did not expect to see a lot of him, but he got a huge opportunity. Sims played just 2 minutes. The Knicks were without Miles McBride as well, so that's why Tyler Kolek, for example, got more minutes and got to showcase what he can do and build off of that Hornets game. So in terms of the bigs, I do expect the Knicks to continue this 5-man starters. So Cat at the 5, OG at the 4, Hart at the 3, Bridges at the 2, and Brunson at the 1. I'm not the biggest fan of Anunoby playing the 4. I think he's undersized. I think he's better at the 3. The same thing with Josh Hart. It's kind of the opposite. You know, Josh Hart, yeah, he's 6'4". He's a little bit on the smaller side. But Hart at the 3 is kind of a recipe for disaster, just because he is not a good three-point shooter. He's now 0 for 4 in the preseason, and they just have not been close. You could tell he's not even trying to shoot the ball. So, again, Josh Hart, yes, he's out there for playmaking, rebounding, but I would love to have Anunoby at the 3, Cat at the 4, and then Mitch at the 5, right? Because, yeah, we don't have a shooter at the 5 to that point, but we've got a guy who's a 7-footer that can block any shot and that can rebound the basketball at an elite level. I mean, Mitch was averaging over 5 offensive rebounds a game for the Knicks last season before his injury, which was incredibly good to say the least. I'm looking specifically, though, at Precious Achiuwa and Jericho Sims. These guys are going to be so important off the bench. Last year, they were over a +9 when on the court together. So that clearly was working. The question is, defensively, is that going to work? Because we know that Sims offensively is going to grab boards. He's going to go up and dunk it. We know he can catch lobs. He can set screens. I mean, the dude is massive. But on defense, Sims has a lot of work to do. He tends to be out of position. We saw in that first preseason game, Trey Mann had an and-1 finish on him, and they came right back at him. Sims has a 44.5-inch vertical. There's absolutely no reason, as he blocks a shot on the screen right there, there's no reason he should be out of position and not going up and sending that shot to the 4th row. But it's just, again, he's not in the right place. So Tibbs is going to have to continue to work on that. I'm sure Cat can help him. Cat is a very, very high-level rim protector. Mitch as well. I mean, I don't know how much we're going to see him on the bench, if he's going to be out there or whatnot. I mean, I'm sure he is. So, I mean, he can definitely work with Sims, work as sort of a coach. But I think the biggest wild card here is Ariel Hukporti. He's a guy that we talked a little bit about in my video yesterday. He stands 6'11", 246 pounds. Now, he is 22 years old. He turned 22 in April, so he's very young. 58th pick in the 2024 draft in the second round. Of course, the Knicks moved all around the draft. They traded some picks to go get Tyler Kolek, and then they traded down. I mean, it was just absolutely wild for those of you that remember. But Hukporti showed that he actually has very good instinct, athleticism, touch, and him and Tyler Kolek look like they're building something special. I think those guys together could be very, very dangerous. Of course, we're probably going to see Jericho Sims to start off the year. 100% we are. So now it's just going to come down to Payne and Kolek competing for that backup point spot. But I do think that, let's just say the Knicks do roll campaign out there and they do roll out Achua and Sims. Well, I think we're going to be up big in a lot of games this season, which means we're going to see Kolek and Hukporti go out there and they're going to build something for the future because, I mean, both of those guys look legitimate, man. I mean, think about it. This is the worst we're going to see them. They're very, very young. They're second-round picks, and they're going out there against NBA talent. It is the Wizards, so don't get me wrong, but that's now the second straight game we've seen Tyler Kolek go out there and ball. Hukporti in his first play goes out there and balls. So I'm very excited about it. There's still a couple of guys I'd like to see. Kevin McCullough Jr. was listed out, so clearly he's still suffering from an injury. Did not play in the summer league. Bacom Dadiate is listed as day-to-day, which is a little bit weird because he is, 18 years old. He's the youngest player on our team. I didn't expect to see much of him this year, but it would be cool to see him go out there and just play and get reps. Of course, he was our first-round pick, so we can't just forget that. Landry Shamet had an off game. The efficiency just was not there last night, but because we forced so many turnovers and got in the passing lanes and rebounded, we were able to come out with a massive win. But in terms of what's next for the Knicks, well, we have a preseason game Sunday against the Minnesota Timberwolves, so Julius Randle and Dante DiVincenzo will make their return to the Garden, which certainly is going to be very, very emotional for Knicks fans because those guys were a huge part of our team last season, and I mean, they're just absolute fan favorites. Tuesday against the Charlotte Hornets at home, so 3 straight home games, and then traveling to Washington for the first Friday night Knicks of the season to take on the Wizards. And then, guys, just 4 days later, the Knicks will head to TD Garden in Boston, Massachusetts to take on the reigning defending champion, the Boston Celtics, for their ring ceremony. It's going to be the most highly anticipated Knicks season since 1993. That is absolutely insane. I mean, I was not even alive back then. I couldn't really tell you much about the 90s Knicks. I know they had Patrick Ewing. That's literally, and John Starks too, legend. But yeah, guys, I mean, this is going to be so freaking awesome. I mean, this is the best team we've had since that year. And the Knicks, they're going to go out there and hopefully bring us a championship for the first time since that 1973 season. Which, by the way, my mom was born that year, guys. We haven't won a championship since my mother was born.